I'm getting blown now. I'm in my zone now.
Happy Thursday, guys. Shout out to y'all for coming through every day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please be sure to visit wesoflymorningshow.com so that you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, get the notifications by clicking the notification bell, become a part of the notification gang, board that plane so you can get your daily dose of positivity and motivation, all that good stuff, okay? Um, so this morning we're talking about, and good morning, by the way, how to overcome your fears. So, one of the main things that we need to overcome in life is fear. However, the minute that you understand that a certain level, and I'll always balance it out this way because I believe it to be true. I don't think that we can be so extreme with everything in life. Like we say we need to just cancel out all negativity. Well, that's not necessarily true because you need a little bit of negativity so that positivity can shine that much more, if that makes sense. You get what I mean? You need darkness in order for there to be light. You have to have doubt in order for you to understand how to believe in yourself. It works in each other's favor, believe it or not. But that's not to say that you should go directly to the dark or directly to negativity, not at all. But it is the way life is balanced out. So if everything were perfect and if everything worked exactly as we wanted it to every single time, where would there be growth? Where would the growth be? Nowhere, right? So it's the same thing with fear. You need a certain amount of fear just so you can push yourself to do what you believe you couldn't do, if that makes any sense. That fear, it can give you a rush, believe it or not. It can give you that nice little push that you need to go apply for that job or to go move to another state, to go take up a course or to, do whatever, go back to school, start school, whatever the case may be, like you just never know how fears can help to encourage you to do different things, believe it or not. And I understand that because fear can be irritating. It can be because it's like you question, why am I even afraid right now? Well, maybe it's speaking to something that you haven't dealt with, inner issues that we all deal with each and every day. And we never know how certain instances instill fear in us, the way someone speaks to you, good morning, the way an outcome happened, you know what I mean? Experiences are why you have fears. That's where the fear comes from. It was either, like I said, something someone said, something someone did, something that was just said and done in general, you know what I mean? Overall, on both ends, whatever the case may be, that fear sets in through those experiences. Past experiences inspire fear, just like past experiences inspire motivation or whatever. Like the influence goes both ways, it's not just one way all the time. So I'm trying to get into the habit of understanding both sides of everything instead of always thinking positive 24/7. I'm trying to understand the negatives so that I can be more positive about it. Does that make sense? I'm still maximizing on the positivity, still maximizing on pushing forward, but I'm understanding those fears. I'm getting to the core of them and understanding the negativity and understanding the purpose for them. You know what I mean? The purpose for those fears and that negativity. I'm understanding the purpose so that I can be more positive, you know? So there's a meaning behind everything. Everything is symbolic in this world. Even something as simple as a plant, whatever, everything holds meaning in the world. So don't second guess anything. Look at it for what it truly is, take it all in and make something out of it. That's what we're here to do. But anyways, just wanted to kind of touch on that to preface. So the thing is, though, if we're constantly living in fear, it's like living in a box. It's like you never exit that box, no matter how beautiful things may look outside of that box. It's like you have a little peephole outside the box. You can see what's going on out there. And you're so scared. You're like, no, 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 because you've been told. See what I'm saying? Conversation. You've been told bad things are going to happen if you do this. This is going to result in that. Like, we have to be careful because I can't remember who said it, but someone said recently, you can be inspired by other people's fears. It won't even be yours. It can become yours because you internalize their fear. like the fear of driving, things like that. A lot of people are afraid to drive, and that's because a lot of people have high anxiety. And I know that sounds really silly, but some people don't get their driver's license until they're like 24, 25, 26 because they're that much afraid of getting in the car. They feel so, how can I put it, so pressured by the fact that there's going to be cars surrounding them and they're going to have to drive at a certain speed. And are they going too slow? Like things like that. That's just a clear example of how fear can run your life. Some people never, ever get a driver's license because they're afraid of getting in the car. So they just walk everywhere they go. They get a bike or they do something. I'm telling you, like, believe it or not, you'd be surprised how many people have a driver's license if you ask.
I'm getting blown now. I'm in my zone now.
A lot of people are ashamed of it, and there's no shame in that. It's just you have to face your fears. You just got to do what you got to do, because if you want a car, you're going to have to learn how to drive. It's just inevitable. It's one of those things. But that's just a simple example. So fear can cause us to run away from things that we need to do. Fear can cause us to hide. Fear can be something that we really give into. It can be like a control factor in our lives. It can control some of the most amazing opportunities. It can get in the way. It can become an obstacle for some of the most amazing opportunities that we'll have in our lives. But we can't see it that way because the fear is so strong that it outweighs all of that positivity. It outweighs all of that amazing energy that's going to come behind taking that opportunity, seeking that opportunity, going after what you've manifested. And I think that is one of the most crucial things in life, is that we manifest a lot of things, right? But then when those things actually come into fruition, that fear sometimes can stop us from taking the next step to actually reach out and grab it once it's there. It's one thing to say, God, bring me this. If you only bring me this, God, I'll act out on it. I'll do this. I'll do that. And then when God presents it to you, you stand still. It's like you're frozen. You become paralyzed. Your mind paralyzes you because that fear is so strong. You're like, oh, you know what, God? I didn't actually think you were going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to reach for it now. Like, yeah, reach for it. Still do it. Still follow through. You made a promise, right? To yourself. You made a promise to yourself. You made a promise to God. Reach out. Go for it. It's right there. You asked for it. You received it. Ask and you shall receive. That's exactly what you wanted. That's exactly what He's presenting to you. Now it's up to you to not let that fear take away from that opportunity. And that right there is the difference in why a lot of people succeed versus why a lot of people stay stagnant. Because a lot of people aren't consistent. They cannot follow through with the next step. They're okay with the grooming stage of growing the mindset and speaking things into existence, and anything that's mental, they're fine with it. But as long as it doesn't include taking action, as long as it's not a major action, they're fine. But then when it comes time to act, and it's like, okay, now you got to do. You've manifested with your words and all that stuff. You've written things down. You've planned it all out. I mean, planned it to the T, $1 million ideas. And you have all the tools that you need. God has handed it to you, and you don't utilize them. That right there is how fear runs your life. So we just have to understand that there are many sources of fears and many ways to cope with it. Knowing that our fears are the most effective ways of ruining your future should let you know that, hey, all right, I really need to pay attention to what I'm afraid of from now on. I really need to not let that fear be my undoing. You know what I mean? Now, don't allow that fear to take away from all of the hard work that you've manifested. Don't allow that fear to take away from all of that beauty that there is to come. So identify your fear. And like I said, one good way of doing that is journaling. Letting yourself know what makes you afraid. Like, what are you afraid of? What is the root cause of that? Finding the root cause is how you can improve on those things. Finding the root cause is how you can actually make a difference and take care of them. if that makes any sense, you know? So make a list and write down what your triggers are. What triggers that fear? What influences it? You know, what frightens you? If anything, I recommend doing something outside of your comfort zone, stepping outside of your comfort zone a little bit each and every day. It doesn't have to be anything too major, doesn't have to be anything too anxiety based, you know what I mean? Just a little something something like if you're not a talker, maybe you're a shy person by nature, try to talk more. Things like that. Something that's a soft approach so that way you warm yourself up to it, and the more you see the results, that we're, as human beings, we are results based beings. We don't, if we don't see results, we're not going to continue with things most of the time. Not all of us, but a good majority. If we don't see instant gratification, a lot of us are like, all right, I'm not doing that.
I'm getting blown now. I'm in my zone now.
And like for instance, all right, let's say you're speaking, right? You're speaking, or you're in the group of people who are talking. You're having a conversation with a group, right? And everybody starts talking, everybody shares their piece, and then it comes to you. And then you start talking, you have a fear of speaking in front of people or whatever. You start talking and you're going all in because this is something you've never done before. You're stepping outside of yourself for right now. You know what I mean? You're trying something different. Instead of staying quiet in the friend group all the time, you decide to talk. Now, let's say as soon as you finish your thoughts, is total silence, and then you're like, I knew it. I knew that they were going to judge me. I knew that they weren't going to respond. It does not matter. That is one experience. Don't let that experience from then on keep you quiet because you think that everybody else is going to respond the way that they did with total silence, because that is not accurate. Everybody is not like that. Just because you have one bad experience doesn't mean that that's going to be the same for the rest of your life for everyone that you encounter from then on. Just because those people didn't respond doesn't mean that you won't get any other responses every time you talk from then on. So continue to speak, let your voice be heard. That's just a small example, but that's something that I used to think about. Like that used to bother me. Like when I would speak and everybody would be totally silent. It still bothers me to this day, but I still continue to talk. I just say to myself, you know what? I'm just not going to really respond in this moment right now. This is just not the moment for me to really talk because there's not really much to be said here. And that's okay. You know what I mean? And just because they didn't say anything, I bet you they received it some kind of way. A lot of times people just don't know what to say to you. Like you say so much, they don't even know what to say. Maybe you took them by surprise. You just never know. Maybe they're so shocked at what your thoughts were. They're like, wow, that is awesome. I don't even have anything to say to that, believe it or not. And it's not that it was bad, what you were saying, it's just it blew them away. You ever thought about that? Let's look at it for the positives too. It doesn't always have to be bad, like, oh my gosh, I said something stupid. Not at all. I don't think it was stupid at all. I think they just honestly didn't know how to respond. And that's okay. You're going to encounter those situations, but don't let that fear set in to where you think negative of every situation and you think that everyone around you is looking at you from a negative lens, because that is not true. You know what I mean? That is definitely not true. So you just have to shift your way of thinking. Overcoming fears requires you to shift your way of thinking. And honestly, there is going to be a point in time where you just have to surrender to those fears. Surrender to the moment of feeling afraid, but don't surrender in giving up. I don't mean that. I mean surrender in, okay, you accept that you're afraid right now, but at the same time, you're still going to act. You're still going to do something. You're still going to move forward. You know what I mean? So you're still going to take the time to do what needs to be done. And you are going to always handle your business and never let that fear run your life. Because that right there is what makes or breaks your future. You really put the pieces together and you do a lot of self-reflection, you do a lot of self-evaluation, you evaluate things around you, you take it for what it is and not for what you want it to be. It becomes something different. And once you shift your way of thinking, a lot of things won't even bother you the same way anymore, if they bother you at all. You know what I mean? They won't really bother you at all, to be honest, because you're overcoming those things. You're not really focused on them. You're not really worried about them. So find healthy distractions. You know what I mean? Find healthy distractions and embrace your fears. Embrace your fears and face them head on and say, you know what? I understand that there are going to be certain moments in my life where I'm going to be afraid of doing something, but that rush is unmatched. And are you up for the challenge? You should be. You should be excited about the challenge. That's how I'm framing my way of thinking now. I'm looking at it as if we're in the boxing ring and I got an opponent that I got to fight and that bell is about to ring. Let's go. I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Like you just got to look at yourself like that. I look at it like that cuz I'm a martial artist. I'm sorry. I have to like have a certain type of mindset so I can get myself boosted up. You know what I mean? Whatever works for you, whatever analogy you need to use that, so that you can boost your confidence.
I'm getting blown now. I'm in my zone now.
That works for me because I love fighting. Sports fighting, not in the streets. I'm not putting my hands on nobody. I mean, like I like, with sports, yeah. So that fuels me. So find what fuels you. You know what I mean? And face that fear head on. And realize that the more you do something that you don't particularly care for, the easier it's going to become, the better off you're going to be because you're not letting that fear settle in. You're not growing complacent. You're not allowing all of that to get to you because that's all it wants. It just wants you to do a Kumo fight show. I don't know, black people will kick me off of here if I do that. I cannot do that. I wish somebody would be my opponent. Let's go. I'll put City in the ring with me. City won't fight me. Let's go. You know what I mean? So no, I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. But yes. Oh, oh my God! Look at him. Look at this. I'm dead. Ain't nothing wrong. Ways of conquering your fears. Recognize what's happening to you. Allow life to be what it is, and investigate the source of your fear. Like I was saying. So, although this may seem like very tedious tasks, it may be difficult because it's something new. It's something that you're not used to doing. Anytime we're doing something that we're not used to doing, it's going to seem boring at first. It's going to seem hard. It's going to seem draining, but it's really not because the more you see the benefit in it, like I'm practicing affirmations every morning now, I'm reciting things to myself about love and positivity, and as soon as I read those words, a smile comes to my face. I do this as soon as I wake up. I talk about being beautiful and my voice and all this stuff. And I feel good. You know what I mean? I feel so much better than letting that fear of, oh my God, what's going to happen today settle in. I don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. So shake that. You know what I mean? Drop that, cancel it out altogether because you don't have time for those types of thoughts because your thoughts in the morning set the tone for every emotion that you're going to feel throughout the day. How you feel first thing in the morning sets you up for how you're going to feel for today. You know what I mean? So that's why it's good to consume positive things. That way, you don't have as much fear. You don't have as much time to be concerned with fear because you're digesting positive things. You're seeing people and you're hearing their testimonies or whatever the case may be. And you're feeling better because you know that someone else is going through something similar or they're dealing with something, but they're still positive. That's what I love. I love being around people who fight. I love fighters, mental fighters. People, that doesn't always have to be physical, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to those too. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all doing mental fights, man. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? But it's all about having courage and finding that inner strength. And your inner critic is going to wear you out at times, okay? That's just natural. That is how your body works. Your inner critic is just basically a certain level of anxiety that is there. And like I said before, we have to have a certain level of negativity and we have to have a certain level of anxiety or whatever the case may be so that we don't do things that are nonsensical, so that we don't put ourselves in harm's way. But going into something with a negative perspective right off the bat is going to instill fear immediately. I promise you that. So if you are already negative before anything happens, Fear, paranoia, however you want to look at it, is right there at the door waiting for you. So it's all about your mindset. It's all about your energy. Energy is everything. Energy is key. You know what I mean? So be sure to tap into that positive energy as much as you can. Be sure to encourage others to do the same. And I find that when you're going through something, um and this is something I've always known because I do it all the time, and that's why I tell people this is my way of healing, and I heal in different ways. We all do. One way of healing and not focusing on my fears so much and not letting that settle in is to help people. When I help people, that's a healthy distraction for me. It allows me to focus on them, their problems, and to develop a structure for them. And in tune, you'd be surprised. In tune, when I develop a structure or help them to develop a structure, it then shows me solutions too for my things that I got going on. Believe it or not, you find yourself trying to help someone else, and little do you know, you find answers to your issues as well. And it just happens. It's like a miracle. It's like God works in mysterious ways. You're helping others, and then he finds a way to help you while you're helping someone else. That's how beautiful life can be. So that's why it's always good to give back. So when you're lost and you feel like you're on this road by yourself, always try to contribute somehow. Try to give back to the community. Just try to stay focused in a positive way. Turn that energy into something beautiful. Be a giver. You know what I mean? Be some form of light. That way, when things happen the way that they do, you're not going to be so much concerned with the bad, because you're going to see so many beautiful things happening around you that you're not really going to have time to focus on them like that. So that's how life works. We give and we receive. So what you put out there is what you get back in. So anytime that you're feeling negative, it's always good to do something positive. I recommend that every chance that you get, whether it be taking up some volunteer work, going donate, giving back to the less fortunate, going help children. And when you're feeling restless, being around children is one of the most beautiful things you can do, because their hearts and their minds are so pure. Thank God that they can help you to turn yourself around. Just the smile that a child can give you, or the energy, because they're so full of light and so full of energy, like I said, that it can shift you, because they're not tainted by the things that we've been tainted by as adults. You know what I mean? So if you have nieces and nephews or children yourself, um, spread that love, show them what love is. And that's what I try to do when I'm around my nephew, because he's always laughing. And one thing that's so crazy to me, when I'm going through something and I'm near my nephew, I don't even have to say anything. He just runs up to me and he hugs me. And I'm like, how does he know that I'm not feeling good today? Like, I don't say anything. He just knows. And I'm like, this child is something else. You know what I mean? Because they can feel that. They feel it. They just don't say it. So if we can tap into that, good morning, y'all. Miss Phil said I can feel the same. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. So it's all about finding beauty in things. That way fear doesn't seem like such a big deal, because it's really not a big deal. It's only big because you make it a priority. Fear is only going to ruin things for you if you put it at the forefront. Fear is only going to be an obstacle if you give power to it. It's only as strong as you make it out to be. It's like the more you focus on that fear, it's like you're giving it energy, and it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
I'm getting blown now.